Ah, you want to become smart? Most people assume that means sacrificing 20 years of your life to school, grinding your soul through test prep and sleepless nights only to finally emerge, head spinning, dead loaded, and somehow still Googling how taxes work. Society loves to make intelligence look like some distant mountain summit only reached by monks, tech billionaires, or kids who saw Rubik's Cubes behind their backs. But the truth? Becoming smart is way easier than you've been told. You don't need a perfect GPA, 100 TED Talks bookmarked, or a library card tattooed on your wrist. You just need to understand one simple thing. Smart people don't know everything. They just know how to make what they learn stick. They know how to apply it, and more importantly, they know what to ignore. Here's the part no one tells you. If you're human with a functional brain and a shred of curiosity, you're already equipped with everything you need to get smart. You just haven't been shown the operating manual. When most people say, I want to be smarter, they don't mean they want to memorize the periodic table. They mean they want to be better at solving real problems, learning new skills quickly, sounding competent when they speak, and maybe even making a little more money doing something that doesn't feel like intellectual punishment. But that vision gets lost in translation, buried under 50 productivity hacks, 17 brain supplements, and 1,000 study with me videos that make you feel bad for blinking. Let's start over. Getting smart isn't about working harder. It's about learning how your brain actually works and then using that knowledge to make it do what you want. First step, stop thinking of intelligence as a fixed trait like your eye color. It's not. Intelligence is more like physical fitness. You don't have it. You train it. And just like a gym rat doesn't lift every weight in the building, you don't need to master every subject to become intelligent. You only need to build the habit of learning efficiently. And no, that doesn't mean sitting under a tree with a leather journal, writing down Socratic questions. It starts with something much more powerful, reading. Reading is the closest thing we have to mental teleportation. Want to absorb someone's entire life's worth of experience, struggle, and insight in a weekend? Read their book. But let's get one thing straight. Don't read like a librarian. Read like a thief. You're not collecting pages. You're hunting for useful mental software. Read fiction to sharpen empathy, increase reading speed, and expand your inner vocabulary. Read nonfiction to stack practical knowledge, ideas you can immediately throw into your life, like seasoning. Now, here's where most people mess this up. They read a book, they highlight half of it in yellow, and then they never think about it again. 2 weeks later, all that knowledge has evaporated. Why? Because the brain is savage. It doesn't remember what you read. It remembers what you used. Let that sink in. You can read 10 books on psychology, but if you don't apply any of it, the next time you get into an argument, your brain files that information under forgettable. But if you read one chapter about conflict resolution and then try it in an actual disagreement, even badly, your brain takes notice. This is the practice trigger. The moment your brain senses that something you learned helped you survive, thrive, or even just avoid embarrassment, it makes a little mental note. Keep that, we might need it. That's why the fastest way to get smart isn't to learn more, it's to use what you already know more aggressively. Learn something, then test it. If you can't test it in real life, test it in your imagination. So say you read about how to jumpstart a car. You only own one car. No problem. Close your eyes. Walk through the process, see the hood, hear the engine, picture the sparks. Imagine you're stuck in a parking lot, it's raining, and this knowledge is the only thing standing between you and calling your ex for help. Suddenly, your brain cares. That's how you hijack your own biology. Smart people don't just learn, they rehearse, they simulate, they teach. If you can teach something, explain it to your cousin, your mirror, your dog, it means the knowledge has clicked into place. And once you can explain something clearly, you're not just smart about it, you're dangerous. Another thing nobody tells you, you don't need to learn everything. You just need to learn the 20% that gives you 80% of the results. That's the famous Pareto principle. The learning curve is steep at first. Your early efforts bring massive gains, but most people give up halfway in, thinking I'm not good at this, when in reality, they're one afternoon away from having a superpower. You don't need to be fluent in everything, you just need to be fluent in getting better. And if you want an even sharper edge, ditch passive learning. Watching 5 YouTube summaries on quantum physics might feel productive, but if you're not doing anything with the information, your brain sees it as entertainment. Want to retain something? Create stakes. Imagine this. You're hanging off a cliff. The rope is fraying. Someone shouts, "Quick! Name the parts of a human cell." Or you're toast. Your brain, suddenly terrified, locks in. Everything becomes vivid. That's how learning is supposed to feel. Real, intense, unforgettable. If that sounds extreme, here's a chill version. After learning something new, try writing a short post about it. Share it with a friend. Make a 60-second voice memo summarizing what you learned. Those micro acts of expression trick your brain into believing the knowledge matters. That's why textbooks, those things we once loathed, are secretly gold. No fluff, no distractions, just clean data and practice questions. That's what separates a YouTube video you forget tomorrow from a textbook you never forget once you sweat through it. Now, let's talk about humility. Smart people aren't afraid of not knowing. In fact, that's one of their biggest strengths. They ask questions. They admit confusion. They seek clarification without ego. The people pretending to know everything, they plateau early. But the ones who admit gaps and patch them daily, those are the people who quietly become brilliant. So if you ever feel dumb when asking a question, flip it. That's not dumb, that's intelligence forming in real time. That's your brain cracking its knuckles and saying, all right, let's level up. And here's another overlooked truth. Smart people don't do it alone. They're not isolated islands reading Aristotle in silence. They're constantly swapping ideas. They learn faster because they're around people who ask better questions, give sharper feedback, and challenge their assumptions. If your current environment doesn't spark those kinds of conversations, build one. Follow thinkers online, comment, engage, ask, don't lurk. Lurking doesn't sharpen you. Talking does. And please, don't confuse being loud with being smart. The person who wins the room isn't always the one making the most noise. It's the one who listens, reflects, and then drops one clear, precise insight that cuts through the noise like a scalpel. And if your brain's quietly nodding right now, go ahead. Subscribe now before the algorithm throws you back to cat videos.